Well, good morning everybody. It's currently 3:59 in the morning. I don't know if you can see that. And I'm awaiting the delivery of the new Nikon Z8. I'm currently parked up in the middle of nowhere and my package should be arriving shortly.
This video is sponsored by mpb.com.
I've been desperate to use one of these. It was my birthday recently and my wife got me a few of these. It's like, you know how you get dehydrated meals in a pouch? Well, this is coffee in a pouch. Very convenient. Anyway, this is not a coffee channel, this is a photography channel, and soon I will have the Z8 in my possession. Now, it's quite funny, I've never done this before. I've never taken a camera from a manufacturer pre-release, you know, to be one of the first people on the internet to be able to use it and talk about it. And I thought, rather naively, Nikon would just post me the camera and I'd be able to go on like a weeks-long adventure somewhere and use the camera. But no, it's not like that at all. So somebody's going to come and drop the camera off. Literally, this is how protective they are. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I've parked up overnight, which is what I do anyway. So, you know, I love this kind of stuff. But someone's coming out. It's 4 in the morning. They're dropping off the camera and they have to chaperone me with the camera. And I only get it for this morning. And then it's gone. So this is very much a first impressions video. Like, it's all happened very quickly, very short notice. So not my ideal. You know, if it was up to me, I would have got the camera. I would have had weeks and weeks of notice. I'd have got the camera. I'd have driven up to the far north of Scotland or the Outer Hebrides, or even flown somewhere more exotic. But yeah, Yorkshire Dales, cup of coffee, chaperone. So I can't promise the quality of this video. All right. I think we have a delivery. All right, so here it is. First impressions are, it's chunky, definitely chunky. Right, let's go shoot it. So it's not looking that great if I'm honest. There's quite a lot of cloud cover. I was hoping for some light this morning and I'm being followed. This guy behind me is chaperoning me everywhere I go and I'm not sure why. It's not like I'm going to steal the camera. Of course, I was joking about my chaperone. This is Rishi, a Nikon specialist who is here to make sure that I don't say anything wrong about the camera because, well, you know what I'm like. If you've ever watched any of my gear reviews, yeah, let's just say I might need the advice. So, although we don't have any light this morning, we do have a bit of atmosphere. So, we might be on for a shot. But this is what you've all been waiting for. The Nikon Z8. Can I do it justice? Probably not on this morning, to be honest, but I think there is a nice shot just behind us. There's a tree about 50 odd yards ahead of me with this hill in the background, and we just have a bit of rolling cloud over the top of the hill. And everything's just warm and earthy. It's got some quite nice tones. Slightly concerned that we might lose the tree in the background. There's not a great deal of separation, but I reckon if we shoot this at about f5.6, it'll soften the background and really make that tree stand out. Right, so I've got the 24-70 on and it's just not long enough, it's too wide. So, there we go, look at that. There is a sensor protecting cover, which means I no longer have to worry about stress, worry about dust, rain, and all the messy stuff that comes with landscape. Look at this, man. I can leave this all day. I can just take my time. Do I want this lens? Do I want this lens? Oh, I don't know. It doesn't matter because that can stay open. Let's get this shot before things change. All right, so I'm shooting this at about 100 mil. But yeah, this shot's looking good. I just... Rishi, Can you help me?
Yeah.
I need it. Where's the timer delay mode?
Alright, so just let me briefly pause the video here and explain why I was so confused. And it is confusing because with the Nikon Z7 II, there are two ways in which you can activate a self timer. There's the usual 2 second, 5 second, 10 second self timer, which you have to go into the menu and put in. However, the Nikon Z7 II doesn't remember that. So as soon as you switch off your camera, then you have to do the whole thing again. So you go into the Z7 II's menu and you'll find something called exposure delay mode, in which it will remember. Now, this is all annoying and confusing and overly complicated. With the Z8, they've got rid of exposure delay mode, and now you just have the self timer.
Yeah, so the easiest way to get to that is we now have a button up here which changes our frame rate. So when you push and hold that, if you roll your rear dial for me,
rear dial,
and then keep going, eventually there'll be one that says 2 second delay.
Ah, right, okay.
And you can change that to 5 seconds or 10 seconds if you want, but generally most people...
Will it remember this?
Yeah, so it will stay in that mode unless you go and change it.
All right, so now we've managed to get our timer working. We'll get this first shot. It's not the best, to be honest. Like I say, I really wish we had some light, but it is what it is. And I actually think this is, it's an okay shot. It's not bad. It could be worse. Could be better. All right, well, that was a success, but we're going to go and try and find more trees because this area is vast. We've just got to watch where we're walking because this is definitely ankle-breaking territory. That wasn't even fake. Don't film and walk on limestone pavement. Blow my neck. So this is just fantastic. We have a beautiful, beautiful scene here in front of us. The dull light of the morning has gone and the light is coming through and it's washing the background. We have sun rays. We have an interesting composition with this tree. We have a winding river in the midground, light, sky, drama. I'll be honest with you, I was a bit whingy before because it was so flat and grey. But now we've got this light and it's just beautiful, beautiful scene. So the thing that bothers me about the Z7 is that the screen only tilts out on one axis like this. So I'm pleased to see that this one, you can also tilt it like that and a little bit like that. So if I'm shooting really high up, I can still tilt it down a touch, but not as far as if I was shooting like so. If I'm shooting low down, then I don't need to get on my hands and knees, and that is quite nice. And I think also that's quite good if you are shooting handheld like this. You can kind of hold it down and look. It's much better. So yeah, happy to see that this has a more flexible screen on it. So I've been trying to figure out how best to shoot this tree, and Rishi was kind enough to lend me his 14 to 24, and it's mega. Like, you can get, I never shoot super wide, but you can get so close, and I'm kind of crawling around at the base of this tree. So the thing with an ultra wide lens, like shooting at 14mm, you can really, really, really exaggerate anything in the frame, like your foreground. I don't know why I put my tripod up. That's force of habit. We're going super low and we're getting right on this rock here. And the tree from this angle in particular has quite a nice shape to it. It sort of bends around on itself. Now the foregrounds are better further over that way, but you lose the shape of the tree. So it's a bit of a compromise. And of course there's no light. So really we're just having a bit of fun with a wide lens and this new camera. All right, so after quite a lot of faffing on with the tripod, because with such a wide lens, tiny movements make a huge difference, but we've got there in the end. Now what I'm doing is this big slab of rock just here. This is my foreground, and there's two channels here which is forming this V shape, so it frames
quite nicely the tree. Well, it doesn't frame the tree, but it balances the tree. So this rock here in the foreground, which looks massive because it's on a 14mm lens, brings you up to this tree, which has a nice shape to it. We don't have any light, which is a shame. We do have a bit of texture in the sky. So it's worth shooting. It's certainly not as good as it could be. I would love to come back and shoot this exact frame, but with some nice side light, either at sunrise or sunset. But yeah, too cloudy today, but we'll get on, we'll get the shots. All right, so we are making our way back to the van where I'm going to give my impressions of the Z8 and if it's any better than the Z7II and if you should upgrade. But first, I just want to thank the sponsor of this video, which is MPB. Now, MPB is a place where you can sell your used gear. You can also buy used gear from them and you can trade your gear. And actually, if you're thinking that you might want to upgrade to a Z8 and you might want to sell the current camera that you have, then I definitely recommend MPB. I've done it myself. I sold my Canon 5D Mark IV. It's dead easy. Go on the website, put in the camera details, the condition of the camera, and then they will give you a price. If you're happy with that price, they'll send you a postage label. You send the camera off to them and you get the money straight away. So if you're interested in that, you want to buy, sell or trade your gear, then go to mpb.com. Right, let's look at this camera, shall we? So we're back at the van and I have with me here a Z9, Z8 and Z7II. So the Z8 is effectively a Z9 in a smaller body. Now I asked the question, why would anybody buy a Z9 if there's a Z8 available, which I assume is going to be at a lower price? Because pretty much they're very, very similar. The main differences between the two are form factor and battery. Let me show you the battery. It's massive. That will last forever. Not that important with shooting landscapes, but certainly if you're shooting wildlife, compare that with the Z8 battery, which takes the same battery as the Z7II on the Z7. So other than those two things, I don't think there's a huge difference between the Z9 and the Z8. A lot of the internals of this are now in this camera. So that begs the question, should you bother with a Z7II? Now, I'm just coming at this from a landscape photographer's point of view. The Z8 definitely addresses a lot of the problems with the Z7, but the first thing that I'm noticing right now and that I noticed earlier is size and weight. This camera, the Z7, feels like a feather. It feels like a plastic toy, and I mean that in a good way. It's so light, whereas the whoa, losing the camera there. Yeah, the Z8 is chunkier, heavier, and if you look at the size difference between the two, there is a noticeable difference. So if you're a landscape shooter and you do a lot of travel and you do a lot of hiking and you want to maybe upgrade to a Z8, well, man, you're going to be getting a lot of features, but you're going to be adding a lot of bulk and weight to your pack. Another thing I noticed with the Z8 is the memory card slot here. The grip, it's very flat. It doesn't kink out. On the Z7, the edge here, I don't know if you can see that there. Yeah, just there. It just kinks out. It protrudes a little bit. So quite often I open the door accidentally. That is less of an issue on this. It's a minor thing, but it's important to me because it always bugged me that when I pick up this camera, I open the memory card slot. Love the screen on the Z8. It's nice that it flips out and tilts out this way. In terms of image quality, they're going to be almost identical. One thing I would say about the Z8 is that it has massively improved low light autofocus. So with the Z7, I struggle with autofocus in low light. It just doesn't want to lock on. Whereas with this camera, with the new processor and all of the technology that's in here, it will do a far better job of focusing in low light. So one cool feature that the Z8 has is it has 8K time-lapse in camera. That's handy if you like to shoot time-lapses, because I know a lot of people who do landscape photography also
like to do time-lapse photography. So in no way did I have enough time really today to form a true opinion of this camera. A couple of hours on a cold, windy Yorkshire Dales hilltop. It's not perfect. I would have liked a 7-day trip with wildlife and more weather, more light to really test all of the features of this camera, because this is a feature-rich camera. And if you're somebody who shoots hybrid, you shoot video, you shoot landscapes, you shoot documentary, portraiture, wildlife, everything, then this is going to be a fantastic camera. However, I have to say, if you're somebody who just prioritizes landscapes, then I don't see any reason why you would upgrade from a Z7 II, because the image quality is going to be identical from the two cameras, but this is cheaper, smaller, and a heck of a lot lighter. So yeah, I would probably just stick with this, because otherwise you're going to be paying for a ton of features that you're not necessarily going to be using. That's my thoughts. But first impression, great camera.